Hi. Woo.
Hola.
Hold on. Okay. I had to adjust.
Gotta adjust.
Hey guys, welcome to
Sip.
I can't talk today.
Sippin Spillin.
Sippin Spillin. I'm Sid.
I'm Sippin. I'm Mike.
We're just having a struggle bus today.
That's right.
Oh my goodness, yes. So I don't know if they're in the frame, but the neighbor's horses are like right at the fence. So hopefully you guys can see them. I'm not sure. I was messing around with the exposure on the thing.
If they're in the frame's too wide.
No, you're right. They're not in the frame. They were when I came out here, but now they're not. That is correct. Anyway, there's horses over there. Just imagine it. They're
Just
really
know
pretty.
that there are horses
Just know that
to
there's
my
horses
left.
there, and
And
it's a good
are
thing.
they to your left as well?
I'm not talking to you. So, yeah. So today, dude. Woo! Dude. So here's the thing. Let me explain a few things. For those of you that maybe just found us through Sippin and Spillin and didn't know us as TCR now through Mississippi, we've been living in California. We were on a small little farm there. And we just recently...
We escaped!
We just
We're
recently...
the California refugees.
That's right. We just recently moved here to Mississippi. And it's, it's been an interesting journey. It's been a wonderful ride. But, man, we got out of there just in time. So, no joke, just in time. So I know that, every area has their issues when it comes to weather and whatever. You got... hurricanes by the water, and you got down south and on the East Coast, you got your earthquakes in California and your fires and all your
tornadoes here in this area.
Exactly. So every place has their thing, right? It's just or you got real severe winters and blizzards up north and far northeast.
But unfortunately, California also has the worst potential natural disaster, I think, on in the entire United States, and that's Gavin Newsom.
Well, yeah. So I wasn't gonna do that, but okay. Here's the deal. Right now, for the last 2 weeks, now I talk to my friends that are still in California pretty much daily, and thank goodness too for social media, because it really allows me to still kind of keep up on their lives, even though I'm not seeing them and talking to them in person
as long as they have enough power to charge their devices,
right?
So they can be on social media.
So here's what's happening, and man, am I glad we're out of there. So they've been doing rolling blackouts, rolling brownouts, and flex alerts. For those of you that don't know what a flex alert is, basically...
Good for you. You live in the right place.
Yeah. Basically, yes. A flex alert is when the powers that be at the power company tell you to not use your power, to turn everything off, and basically go to a group community area or a business that's a large business to go soak up the AC and the electricity and just leave your house, turn everything off, and it's almost like evacuate, right?
They're not shutting your power off, but they're telling you to.
Right. And what happens is if enough people in a certain area don't follow that, then they do a forced blackout. And then what happens is sometimes that can last a lot longer, and it can be very unpleasant. And then people have issues that are maybe housebound or elderly. So it can really create some issues. But, there's a lot of people, especially now, that work from home. So these flex alerts where now, I can't work now, or now my power's out, it's a brownout or it's a blackout, and now I can't use the internet because there's no power. So my friends have been having to basically leave their houses at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's been 108, 109, 114. It's been crazy heat in different areas in Southern California. And my friends that have livestock have been having to really, take extra measures for them because it's a really dry, nasty heat. Plus, on top of that, there's a bunch of fires. All of Southern California is just fire, 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 fire. It's a mess. And thankfully, we have some wonderful, very well trained and very experienced, because of the level of fires that we have down there all the time, firefighters that are on it, man. They do the best they can, but some of those areas in the more wild, brushy areas, they just get out of control so fast before anybody even knows that it's happening. It's just, it's really sad. And then of course that also will affect, they'll tell you, oh, you got to turn your power off now because there's a wildfire. We got to shut these lines down. So now the power is going out in all these areas. So they're already dealing with all of that. Now there's a hurricane. You guys have probably heard
hardly ever hurricanes on the West Coast.
Right, and it's sweeping up through the bottom, and they're saying it's going to cause some really crazy rain and potential flooding in some areas, while simultaneously having 110-degree heat and no power.
I'm curious to see how that works out. I mean,
sometimes they say stuff like that down there.
I don't know how bad the hurricane's really going to be.
No, it might just be a little bit of rain, and that's the thing too with Southern California. Sometimes they'll tell you like, "Oh, you're going to have massive flooding. We're expecting this big storm," and then it's like a sprinkle or nothing.
But I will say that the worst storms that I recall when we were in Southern California were always storms that came from the south.
Mm-hmm. And this one's coming from the south. So I'm keeping a good thought for all of my friends out there right now, because they are struggling. Like, it's hard. It's hard to live in that condition.
I'll tell you what I think is the most not hilarious part about this.
Uh-oh.
The most not hilarious part.
The least funny aspect.
So, those of y'all that don't know this, I kind of feel bad for even making you know this.
Uh-oh.
If you don't know this, good for you. You're far enough away from California that you're not being exposed to this ridiculousness. But California's been on this program to get rid of all new gas-operated vehicles. I'm going to sneeze in a minute.
Including
by
trucks.
2023.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. By 2035.
Right.
That's their goal. So they've been pushing hard EVs, trying to get rid of gas. They're trying to demonize fossil fuel and get everybody onto electric vehicles. That's the goal in California.
But now
we could spend a long time talking about the carbon footprint involved in creating these batteries and the dispatch. But we're not going to go there because I'm not going to be able to talk sense to these people. They don't want to hear it from a redneck that's smarter than them. All I'm going to say is what's really going on right now that's crazy is they got all these people that now have electric vehicles and they're telling them, please don't charge your electric vehicles right now during these flex alert times. During the periods of time when you're at home, please don't charge your electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Because that's when we're having too much of a demand on the grid. I'm telling you, it couldn't be mismanaged any worse out there. It is crazy.
And it's kind of hitting that crescendo right now where all of those things are sort of coming to fruition, and things that they've been talking about happening for a while, and they're all kind of happening at once right now. And some people are waking up and going, oh, I see what everybody was warning about now. About not, this big push to get electric vehicles, but now we can't charge them. And, there's literally people that have had to use a gas generator to charge. They were making jokes about it. They're using their gas generators to charge their electric vehicle because they can't use the outlet. And it's like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But, it just makes me very grateful that not only, because honestly, if you had asked us a year ago, I was thinking about that this morning, which is a weird thought, I guess, to cross my mind. But I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, a year ago was the end of summer, right after Labor Day would have been our last summer pool party.
Yeah, what were we doing this time a year ago?
And I was like, we would have had, if you walked up to me like a fortune teller and said, this time next year, Sid, you're going to be in northern Mississippi on 45 acres. I would have thought they had bumped their head.
Mississippi was not on anybody's radar.
Oh, I would have been like, okay, sure. Yeah.
Have another one.
Yeah. But it just wasn't. But then, honestly, everything that changed in January for me was when I started going, this is getting bad here. Because of last year, or this year, I guess, technically. Yeah. When everything started switching over, they increased all the power. And I can tell you, too, for a fact, my girlfriend, I was just talking to her, and she's looking to get out here soon, too.
Didn't they just get their house on the market?
They just put their house on the market.
Yesterday?
Yes, yesterday.
Yeah, it's beautiful house. Still so.
It is. Yeah. And in fact, I went and looked at a property for them today. So, but she was like, she has this thing where she can log in and check she gets an automatic thing halfway through the month at what her bill is at. And
her electric bill?
Yeah. And she was like, Sid, it's already at $1,800, and we have been doing the flex alerts. Like, they've been turning off their power, shutting everything off, and leaving the house by 4 o'clock and not coming home until like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Shutting all the doors and windows, not running the air, like the whole 9 yards. So the fact, and mind you, they have raised the rates so much to the point where, for us, our electric bill, when we first moved to that property 7 years ago, now it changed, whether it was winter or summer, obviously, for, whether you're running the AC unit that we had in the back of the bedroom, or if you're running more fans, or, whatever. But it would average the highest it would be when we first moved out there was about $300. And that was with the pool and all of that, right? By the time we left, the last bill we had was $800. And we weren't doing anything crazy. Like, we weren't doing anything that we hadn't been doing before.
In fact, during that time frame, I spent a whole bunch of money upgrading and replacing the pool equipment.
Yeah,
and putting a variable speed pump in there that was supposed to be a lot more efficient, because the pool was probably one of the biggest sucks. We didn't have an air conditioner.
Yeah, we didn't have a house air conditioner. We had a little unit in the bedroom.
Yeah, well, unit in the bedroom.
And,
a few months a year we ran that.
Yeah.
We didn't have a heater. We weren't sucking electricity from that. We, electric wood burning stove.
Right, that's all we used for heat. Was the one.
We increased our. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. We improved the situation by putting in, that pump, that variable speed.
Yeah, but they just kept sneaking up these price increases to the point now where people are just having these ridiculous electric bills, but also being told you can't use your electricity at all, but you're still paying an arm and a leg for your electricity.
Crazy.
It's absolutely insanity, like just nutty. So just very, like I said, very grateful. When I started seeing those things changes and the insurance, which we've talked about before on 3 Mississippi, some of the reasons why we were moving out here and what kind of got us to that point, seeing the increases and some of that, we were like, this is just getting ridiculous. Like the insurance for the house, like doubled, everything. And it was just a nightmare. So I'm really thankful that we got out of there when we did, because we're very lucky that we were able, that everything lined up the way it did.
I don't know what their game plan is. I mean, for a long time I thought they were trying to really pinch the middle class family. They're hurting everybody.
Yeah.
There's nobody they're not hurting right now. I don't know. The only people they're not hurting are the homeless people.
Well, and I think,
they're encouraging more homeless.
They're not hurting those that are dependent on government assistance as much in that state, because of the way it's set up and the discounts they get for certain things. So there's programs that basically...
They're trying to put everybody on government assistance.
Right. And so there's programs through, like SCG&E that you pay very little or you get a bunch of breaks. But for the average Joe, those are not applicable. So you end up having these giant bills, and that's why a lot of times, even like during the summer, and this has happened off and on for years, where when the weather's really hot, even large businesses, they will charge you a surcharge. So like if you go to the movies, you'll see on your ticket, there's like $1.25 surcharge for electricity that they add on. And it's like, okay. So you're paying, the $11 or $12 movie ticket.
Well, and all the companies are charging surcharges for gas because the gas prices are so ridiculously high. Yeah. I mean, if you call a plumber, an electrician from a large company that has a fleet with a lot of vehicles, those companies are all adding surcharges, fuel surcharges.
I get.
They have to.
I get that they have to, because it's a business and they have to make money.
Yeah, I'm not beating on the business.
Yeah,
I'm saying
is it just kind of rolls down that all these things kind of just add up to the average Joe struggle busing, and
yeah, you can drive right across the state line, and all of a sudden, the gas is $1.80 or $2 a gallon less. And so what's really going on?
That was, I think, for me coming out here was the biggest, the weirdest thing for me was. Now, granted, I grew up where, you know, you turn the lights off when you're not using them, you don't waste electricity, right? But the biggest luxury for me is that we have like air conditioning, which it's and this is what cracks me up. And I think I've
Full
said
house
this
air
before.
conditioning. We have
Whole
two air
house-
conditioners.
Yes,
Two big air conditioning units on the other side of the house. One for the downstairs, one for the upstairs.
I spend 90% of my day freezing because I just get cold easily, and I prefer the heat. Like, I just get cold easily. So I'm usually bundled up. This is one of those rare times where I'm like, oh, it's actually not too cold inside and it's not too cold outside.
It's really nice outside.
Yeah, it's
right
really it was not humid today at all.
Fall.
It's nice, yeah. So it's funny because it feels like such a luxury to me that we have this air conditioning, and then I'm like, and it's also not costing me an arm and a leg. Like, it's reasonable to have it running, and you have to during the summer because otherwise the humidity just everything will get all crazy, and you have to have it.
Everything is so ridiculously expensive out there.
Yeah.
Yet somehow, all that money that everybody's paying, they still have the worst roads, they still have the worst schools, they still have the worst homeless program, they still have the worst low-income housing programs, they still have the worst infrastructure as far as bridges. I mean, the list of the worsts is so ridiculously high. They're charging the most to be able to upgrade all those things. They by far have the worst wildland management program, next to maybe Washington, in the entire United States.
Yeah.
The fire season is the mismanagement problem coming to fruition because it got a little bit warm. It's terribly managed, and yet, old Gavin will proudly say, "But I've got a $92 billion surplus."
Yeah.
Dude, you should have spent that.
Money that he stole. Yeah.
You should have spent that.
But yeah, anyway, it's crazy, but I feel for my friends that are still stuck out there because I can't think of a single one of my friends that's still there. Well, that's not true. I can think of a handful, but the majority of my friends either have an exit plan or are working on an exit plan.
And we've had quite a few that have left.
There. Yeah, and they don't want to be there, and I don't blame them. It's getting to the point that, you know, you just can't. It's just too much, and it's really hard to raise kids
and you don't want
that way. And you don't want to. It's not worth it. So yeah,
Somebody's running a chainsaw. You hear that?
Mm-hmm. I do. I hear it. And I'm gonna. Oh, so Frankie was so excited. So Miss Lisa that lives down the way, she texted me last night way after my bedtime. I think she texted me at like 10:30, so I didn't see it till I got up at the crack of dawn this morning, wanting to know if Frankie wanted to come to a church thing tonight that they were doing, and they were having like a Bible movie night and pizza or something like that. And so I asked Frankie when I got her up to get her ready for school, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I want to go." So Miss Lisa said, "We'll pick you up in the van, the church van. I'll pick her up at school. So then I'll just because they literally live like just right there." So she was like, "I'll just drop her off on my way home." I was like, "Cool, great, thank you." So this morning I forgot to tell Mike when he got up, and when I came downstairs to tell him, because I'd heard him get up, he'd gone back down to lay down on the couch for a minute because he realized he got up too early and it was too early to start working yet, so he was going to take like a 15-20 minute nap. So I didn't say anything. So I didn't tell him that she was going to be gone, right? That she wasn't going to walk in the door at 4 o'clock like she does every day from school. So it was like 4:07, and I went, "Oh shoot, he's probably gonna start to wonder where she is. I better go tell him." So I go, "Hey, just to let you know, Frankie went to a church."
You're gonna tell that story?
Yeah. So Frankie went. Yeah, I'm gonna tell that story. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
I thought you were gonna talk about the deer.
Well, I'm gonna. Well, okay. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna do that too. But anyway, I was getting to that. You don't let my stories evolve. Okay. So you have to let it evolve. It has to come out naturally. Okay. So I'm like, oh, it's 4:07. He's going to think she's going to be walking in the door. Like, why hasn't she walked in the door yet? So I popped downstairs and I'm like, hey, babe, just let you know, Frankie, went to a church thing with Miss Lisa after school, and she's going to bring her home later. And he's like, well, he's like, who's driving this church van? And I was like, Lisa. And he's like, well, do you know that she got on there? And I'm like, well, no, but I know that
I'm going to have to retell the story.
No, you're not going to retell the story. I'm telling it accurately. So he doesn't know things. Okay. So then, it's true. So then, here's the deal. Okay. So listen. Stop. I know what you're saying. You don't even. Okay. So he's like, listen, did she get on the van, the church van? And I was like, well, I'm assuming so because I didn't hear from her. Now school gets out at like 3:09, so or something like the 3:10. I don't know, 3:09 I think it is. So yeah, 3:09. That's right, which is weird, but whatever. So I said, well, you know, yeah, because she would have gone back in the office if she missed the bus and couldn't find the church van. She would have gone in the office and called me. And he's like, well, it's really hard to call you from the trunk of a car. So I'm like, really?
Well, no, there was more said before that.
No.
Okay.
I'm not done yet.
Right.
Wait, what are you going to say?
Well, no, all right. First of all, when you started pretending you were me, you changed your tone of voice to not a tone of voice that I was using at the time.
Okay, but
I was being very.
You were being very like she's been abducted and
okay,
she's
cool.
in a
So,
basement somewhere.
Do we know? Was Lisa driving in the van?
And I said yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. So Frankie knew which van to get on.
Yes.
Okay, great. Do we know that Frankie got on the van?
Well, I am assuming she did.
Okay. What if Lisa thought she got on the bus, and what if the bus thought she got on the van?
Then Frankie would have gone into the office realizing that she had no vehicle to get onto.
Kind of hard to make a phone call from the trunk of a car.
Right. So I say to him, I look at him and I'm like, really? You think she's been abducted?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that. If I thought that, we wouldn't be having this calm conversation. So then, all I was saying was just shoot a text to Lisa and make sure she got on the van.
So I said to him, I was like, are you really that overprotective? Like, you know, seriously? And he's like, I was like, I thought I'm supposed to be the and it's always him. He's always the overprotective one. I was like, all right, fine. He's like, it costs nothing to send her a text message and just make sure. So I was like, I'm like, Lisa, did Blondie get in the van okay? And she's like, yep, I got her. Everything's all good. I'm like, okay. Nobody died. Cool. So then a little while later, in fact, I know we're not supposed to edit on here, but I may pop in the picture just so you guys can see it because it's really adorable and it'll take me 2 seconds to do it. And it's not really editing the footage. It's literally adding an image. So I'm going to add an image right here because I'm going to do it.
Over the top of us just talking right now.
Yes.
Just so you can see it.
Yeah. Frankie, so when they were driving one of the girls home from the church thing, they saw a late fawn, and a doe. And Frankie was like all excited and like squealing with delight. And the girl goes, oh, you should come inside and see our fawn that we have. And Frankie's like, what? So they go inside and they had found this abandoned fawn and they started feeding it, goat's milk and milk replacement and stuff and taming it up. And she's like, I got to feed it. I got to pet it. So yeah, she was like on cloud 9. She was like,
now she's not going to want a deer hunt.
Yes, she will. She just like the baby. She was like, it sucked on my finger, and like it reminded her when we had Neil and when we were bottle feeding him, and so she was just. Neil was our goat that we had for a while. It's
not that uncommon for like a doe to get hit on the road and orphan a fawn, and a lot of times those fawns just die. But occasionally somebody does see them.
Well, sometimes
hiding in the bushes.
Sometimes they just take. Those does, they have a lot going on, and they just take their fawn to the fire station and they just drop it off and pin a note to it and they bail.
You think that's how it happened?
I do.
All right. No does died in the making of this video, though.
No does died, but the season has not begun.
That's right.
So, on that note, guys,
give it a couple months.
I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us. I hope you had a good week. We had a good week. It was busy. It was crazy. We had some weird stuff happen, but
we still got one day left in the week. Saturday. Wait. 2 days left in the week. Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. We're not going to let you talk anymore because you say weird things. My point being, I hope that your work week was good. And today being Friday, we've got our live with you guys tonight at 6 p.m. Central. It'll be on 3 Mississippi. I think eventually we're going to switch our lives over to this channel, Sippin Spillin, just to kind of... because it fits the format a little bit better and it'll just be, I think in the long run that'll be better. But we'll see. We're still kind of mulling that over. So, but for now, for today, 6 p.m. Central, we'll be doing our live chat. So if you have time or you can, please join us for that. The more the merrier. We appreciate you. Thank you guys, and we will see you later live tonight. Bye.
Hasta.
Hasta. La vista. Baby.